welcome to the show. Happy Thanksgiving. Let's play some hardball. Our first guest is Cliff Schecter. You see right here. He's an ad man, best-selling author, columnist. You can catch him pretty much weekly on his Substack, Blue Ant Media, and also with a friend of the show, David Schuster. My glorious producer should have a link to it in the chat fairly soon. But it's been a wild, ridiculous few weeks. Trump is more incoherent, incompetent, and frankly dangerous this time around. Cliff, you've got a unifying theory about everything Trump, and I think there's a lot of truth to it. Say these things to him. Apparently that's it.
Yeah, well, thank you, first of all, for having me on the show. It's fun to be back. Fun to be back with you, my old friend. So, it's just, I've seen so much go into why is Trump doing this? Like, he's this complicated creature, who operates on, he got a PhD and he operates on these deep sort of, esoteric theories and that kind of thing, as opposed to, I hungry, I eat kind of thing. And my theory was, if you listen and you go back in time, you will notice that constantly, this is a constant feature. It's 6 words is my unifying theory, right? He said really nice things about me, or he said nice things about me, is really what it is. And if just saying that now, it should get people to think how many times they've heard that. When he didn't, will you pardon P. Diddy? Well, he used to say some really nice things about me. He liked me. This is true. That's an accurate thing. Why'd you pick Mike Pence as vice president? He said very nice things about me. But later, well, he wasn't very nice when he wouldn't steal the election for him. So then when his staff said, tell people to stand down, he wouldn't, because they said they're trying to hang him. And he's like, well, maybe he should have done more for me. Everything Trump does is you're either good to him or bad to him. If you're good to him, you're Vladimir Putin, who's another one who's like, he says nice things about me, so I'll say nice things about him. MBS. And saying nice things about Trump also means, of course, great crypto deals and investments in his businesses, anything where you're nice to him. But if you're not nice to him, Democratic lawmakers who said you shouldn't follow legal orders, he won't stop. Like, he's yin and yang. So he either loves you because you love him because he's so needy, he's so insecure, or he hates you to the point of he will encourage people, Marjorie Taylor Greene, those Democratic lawmakers, and others, people to physically harm you, in fact. And I mean, I would say some of those are those tweets are supposed to end with people doing vicious things. And that's why I made a joke about the Paul Pelosi hammer attack, because Paul Pelosi doesn't like him. And it really is a unifying theory of Trump. And I brought up MTG. I'll just say quickly, you also can be on that side back and forth and back and forth. Like Lindsey Graham has been on each side of that four different times. He loves Lindsey Graham. He's a really good guy. He likes me. And then Lindsey Graham will criticize him. And he's like, Lindsey Graham only won the election because of me. He sucks, and that's, so when people go to these deep kind of like, well, what happened with Mamdani? I predicted that thing was going to go the way it went, because Mamdani called the meeting. So he was paying homage to Trump by saying, can I come to your home and meet you? Trump got to do it from his place of power in the Oval Office with all the gold everywhere, the Saddam Hussein chic, as we like to call it. I mean, it's amazing. It just shows you the lengths he'll go to be liked. When Mamdani's not attacking him, he sits there and he throws the least fanatic under the bus to defend Mamdani. I mean, it's incredible.
That was the most random thing for him, just to throw her under the bus right then. And where's Elise? Type that insane. But like this type of emperor, this leads to an emperor has no clothes with severe grievance.
Yes,
like you get there are real consequences, and then
and
it leads to him like forever. If you've said bad things about him or you've done something he didn't like, you get retribution cases that are like that he tries, and they're comically dumb. Like this is, and he's defeated over and over again on this.
Yes.
And
go ahead. Sorry.
It's like a disastrous incompetence with this. You say nice things, he likes you, but that doesn't tell you anything capability.
No, I mean, again, how competent people are. I think he prefers they not be competent because then they're more likely to say nice things about it. Right? And that's why those little meetings look like North Korean Politburo meetings that, with his members of his staff, like with that it's so cringe. You're the greatest leader ever, Mr. Trump. And because they've all realized that that's the way you do it. And the thing you have to give Mamdani credit on is he's advocating for New York. I can't stand when people on the left have said, they went after Gretchen Whitmer. Well, she was there advocating for Michigan. I'm sorry, your job is still that he's a madman. He's crazy. I could sit here and say 100 horrible things, but you're still there to help your constituents. And if you can get something out of Trump by telling him he looks great today, or what a smart decision you made there, Mr. Trump, where, martial law really should be spelled Marshall. Like he'll love you. And that's the thing. And the dark side of it, as I said, Vince, what he's doing with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, obviously, the Democratic lawmakers, there's so many examples. Jeff Sessions was the first senator to endorse him, a Republican senator, and became his attorney general. And part of the not saying nice things about Trump is he won't break the law for me when I ask him to. So when Sessions wouldn't prosecute Hillary Clinton for no reason, he destroyed him. Like Sessions, he ripped into him. Sessions, fired him, pushed him out, whatever. Sessions goes back to Alabama, wants to run for the Senate seat again, and he endorses his opponent, just the way he said he'd do with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and rips him. Because why? Because even though Jeff Sessions would play a huge role in Trump getting there by being that first endorser, he said he in the end didn't prosecute Hillary, and that was equivalent of, he said mean things about me. He's nasty. And then, it's a child in the playground is the way you have to analyze it.
So, like, that idea of willingness to break the law for you is that he has that you'd willing to do anything. He's always looking for his minion. They're minions. Well,
right. My Roy Cohn, as he always says.
Yeah. But like, we just had a group of senators, half a dozen of them, decide that they said that please don't follow illegal laws, illegal orders.
Yes,
that's a pretty normal thing. In fact, he obviously doesn't read things because he posted a picture of a thing that had the follow the Constitution. It says there, don't follow legal laws in there.
I think we all know he's not a reader. We can agree on that. Yeah.
So he's he's decided he's going to wage war on Mark Kelly, which is like the least wise thing I think he does a lot of least wise things.
Right.
But like, I'm glad President Bone Spurs thinks this is a good idea, because I don't think anyone actually thinks elevating a hero among people in a swing state is the best idea.
Yeah, I mean, you should definitely go after the guy who's won like twice in a swing state, who is a war hero, an astronaut, the one whose wife was shot and miraculously came back, and he nursed her to health. That's who you want to choose, and particularly, as we said, a veteran. Like, if you start trying to call people back into active duty, so you can absolutely destroy them with a court martial, again, Marshall, then, I mean, where does that end? It's going to, I mean, again, he wants to turn all of the military brass, all these folks, and I think secretly, we've heard most of them are against him, but you want to turn every single one of them, like, flat out against you. Yes, go after one of their brothers, or sisters, and try to destroy them. For what? For telling people the truth, which is you are required by the UCMJ, University Code of Military Justice. You have to say no to illegal orders. That is in there, and so that's all these folks were doing. But that again is saying mean things about Trump, because you're telling people not to listen to Trump even if he says illegal stuff.
So with all these weird obsessions he gets on, we follow them pretty intently, where he's going to go after Mark Kelly, he's going after all his enemies, the Comey fiasco, all of that. But it's very hard. This is his strength, is to do so many things that are insane that we have to cover all of it. Like, media has to cover it. Everyone we talk about, we make fun of it. It's easy to make fun of, but it also, I'm not entirely certain that this is the stuff that wins elections and is how we do things. That really the affordability argument is what seems to win elections. But how do Democrats, a resistance and opposition, balance this? Do they go straight on all economy all the time? You saw Carville gave the most basic advice, which in a column which he was spread everywhere on social media. It's like, yeah, he's been saying that for 40 years. It's the economy. Right. It's lip service to Epstein and the vengeance tour that Trump's doing. How do they balance this sort of thing?
So, look, I mean, any smart campaign is run, and sadly, too many Democratic campaigns don't end up being smart campaigns. Are run where you need the messaging, a narrative structure. I don't want to get like too abstract. You need to just say who your opponent is. You need to say who you are. Okay, affordability is exactly right. We're the party of affordability. Right? We're the party who believes that a couple billionaires shouldn't be ripping funds out of the pockets of, working class Americans, middle class Americans, upper middle class Americans, shouldn't be destroying our healthcare system. Trump and his billionaire buddies, it would be my message that I would put out there on the other side. They're the ones who've made things unaffordable. They're the ones who he's the one who's put in place these tariffs that have destroyed your farm. So you have to do that. Yes. You need a positive message about what you're going to do. I think there needs to be something akin to a New Deal type pact that should give people, I mean, geez, like every poll show you paid family and medical leave, 85% support it. Democrats, get on with this and support it. Have a couple of planks that are not based on numbers and charts, but your values. That we support people. When a woman has a baby, she should be able to stay home with her baby. When people get sick, they should be able to stay home, that kind of thing. And our values are that we are here to have a complete overhaul, not just some minor reforms. We need a New Deal. We need to reform in a massive way and have a new system that is fair for everybody, not just a couple of billionaires. That's on the positive side. On the negative side, I would go after him for obviously the Epstein stuff and for being lawless. And you can put that under a narrative of hates democracy, hates regular people, which he makes quite clear all the time, both of those. But mock him, yes, because again, this is something that Democrats didn't get in the past. I think, again, she didn't have enough time to do it, but Kamala Harris, and you can criticize certain things, she did this more brilliantly than any other presidential candidate has done, who's a Democrat, when they mocked him and they made fun of him, because when you're sending a message to swing voters when you mock somebody that they're weak, you have to be able to balance both, that he's weak, and because he's weak, he will strike out and do evil things. Hitler was a buffoon, right? But he was evil. Idi Amin was a buffoon, but he was evil. Pol Pot was a buffoon. If you saw those guys speak, you'd be like, who are these idiots? And yet they killed millions and millions and millions of people. So being a buffoon doesn't mean you're not dangerous. And that's what people have to say is he's a complete clown, but he's from the clown from It. I mean, he's a dangerous clown. He is someone who is coming to harm you. So it's along those lines.
The risk we run with having people who make fun of him, kind of mock him for being dumb and all that, is it makes some people, a lot of people, feel like they were dumb to support him.
Right. I wouldn't mock him for being dumb. It's what you mock him for. You mock him for the fact, his incompetence in doing certain things that harm him among his own base. His tariffs that have destroyed farms and whatever. You mock him when he said those are going to work and keeps pretending those will work. That's what you mock him for. You come up with some structure where you point out to people what a joke that is, that this guy's harming everything. You mock him for the fact that, the Epstein files, I'm not in there. I barely know the guy or whatever. You have to be deadly serious about the survivors. But you can mock him for the fact he's denying he was in there, but he's got 1,000 FBI agents on it. In other words, you don't mock him for being dumb because you're exactly right. That doesn't win you people. That will make people sometimes just get, up in sort of defensive. But you mock him for the ways he has harmed all of us, harmed democracy, harmed our economy, and harmed his own voters most of all. And that is stuff where you can hit him with mockery and you can hit him with serious, hits pointing out how terrible, how bereft of competence and how cruel he's been. And, I always say corruption, cruelty, and incompetence should be the three things you should be talking about.
So when thinking about these things, and we just saw some significant electoral victories, that was impressive stuff going on. How do you feel that Ohio is kind of become the dream for Democrats again? It's like the idea, can Ohio come back? Can they do it? And like Ohio got, like Tim Ryan just bailed out of running for a governor. So it looks like they're going to all coalesce under, her name's Aftyn?
Amy Aftyn. She was the head of the health program during, the public health program during COVID.
Do you feel better about that race? As like these results we've had recently, and seems to be trending in a way. Do you feel better about the gubernatorial race? And do you feel Sherrod Brown can come back?
So let me break that down into two parts. The first part is Ohio is exactly the kind of state where Trump has hurt himself the most with the economics. The tariffs have harmed this state massively. There have been layoffs. Factories have shut down. He's harmed farms in the western part of the state near Indiana. The eastern part of the state, which is parts of it, Pennsylvania and West Virginia, that need SNAP, that need some of these subsidies. So he's harmed a lot of his own voters here. Sherrod Brown was always, even during when we won here more often, was a unicorn above and beyond everybody else. Sherrod Brown's a guy that can go in a room full of donors and be completely comfortable, and go in a trucker hall in a jeans jacket tuxedo and be completely comfortable. And so he had performed 8 points above Kamala Harris when Trump was popular here and on the ballot. Without Trump on the ballot and Trump unpopular, I am absolutely convinced that unless Republicans send the National Guard in, which I'm not going to rule out. We all need to be talking about, and cheat beyond their normal cheating, where they suppress some votes, which is what they always do, but do large scale shutdown polling places. If there's anything close to a fair vote, I'm sure Sherrod Brown wins. That's how sure I am. The Democrats have already put up ads here. They're confident of that too. The governor's race will be much closer and much tougher for us. The best thing that we have going for us, I'm going to be quite honest, I think Amy Aftyn has got a lot of charisma and she's a good candidate, but it would be very tough in a neutral atmosphere. But because people are so angry at Trump and Republicans, so what do? They pick like the embodiment of the Trump Republican and Vivek Ramaswamy, who, is this gazillionaire off of like, dumping a pump and dump scheme and all of that. I absolutely think that if they had put up just a bland candidate, we'd have a really hard time and probably lose that gubernatorial race. If you can make it about Vivek Ramaswamy, which I think you can, and make it about Trump, I'm not saying we're going to win. I'm not as sure as Sherrod Brown, but I think we've got a shot in that one.
I cannot believe Vivek Ramaswamy thinks he can run for any office on site. When someone like Doge thinks you're too irritating,
right?
Is pretty like, oh, you're not even good with that crowd.
I know. He's a pretty unlikable guy, and that comes across to people. And again, they can make up for that. J.D. Vance is a pretty unlikable guy, but he was running in a much better time for Republicans when they didn't have Trump's lowest approval rating ever. And not just that, where they weren't losing large groups of their core voters because they'd screwed their own voters and bankrupted their businesses and done all of these things. And so I think you add all that up, and then you've got this Nick Fuentes, which again I find hilarious because his name is Fuentes, and I don't really know what's going on there. But okay, he's a white supremacist, and you've got some of these white supremacists who caught up at a Vivek Ramaswamy, town hall, and we're like, we can't vote for you because you're not white. So the dog caught the car, if you see what I'm saying. Like, they're going to lose some people. They won't vote for Amy Aftyn, but I think they just won't vote. And you add all of that up, I think that gives us a shot. I'm not saying, sadly, I still might give Republicans the advantage in that one, slight advantage just because of the lean of the state. But I think you add in Ramaswamy, Trump's unpopularity, the economic times here, and Aftyn's charisma, and I think she's got a good shot.
All right. Well, before I let you go, I have one fairly random question. It's something a little different.
Oh, okay.
What's your Thanksgiving dish? What's your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Oh my God. It's so, no, I love it here. It's so bad for me and I love it. Stuffing, man. I could eat stuffing all day, all night, honestly, for the rest of my life. I could just eat stuffing. I'd end up like Jabba the Hutt. All right. But I love it. So I love that I get to eat it that day. So there you go.
I want to thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
I look forward to, and guys, tune in the Blue Amp. You'll like it. It's good.
We have David Schuster, and he's much more talented than I am, folks. So come on. He won an Emmy. You got to tune in for David.
Well, thanks for joining us.
All right. Thanks a lot, Chris. I appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
All right. Take care.
All right. Next up, we're going to have Terry Moran. I'm inviting him in now. He's a veteran journalist. You can find his work on his Substack, The Real Patriotism with Terry Moran. He's had quite the year. I would say in our war with the press right now, he was a frontline soldier and still is. It's great to have you. Thanks for joining us, Terry.
Great to be here, Chris. Thanks very much.
What is that in your back? You've got a comic book in the back. I'm a comic book guy, so I love
you're gonna love this. My wife gave me this for my birthday. I'm from Chicago.
Yeah.
Who is that? That is
Dick. God, that
is Dick Butkus. That is
that is great.
So isn't that beautiful? And it is signed by Mr. Butkus.
Oh, that is, as a Chicagoan here, love it, and that is just outstanding.
Isn't
I have a lot
great?
of Chicago comics too, just like Godzilla vs. Chicago, a lot of things like that.
Cool.
But I'm so glad to have you on it. There's a couple things that live rent free in my head about you that just I think they're never going to leave. One is this past few weeks, I think about more than I probably should. It's that interview you had with Trump, where he denied reality about the doctor photo. And I think about that. It's like he tries to make it his own. And that's the weirdest thing. And the other, of course, is that the Steve Miller bits, the being a world-class heir, which is also reality.
Yeah.
And the past few weeks, Trump has denied reality for a lot of things. But his blatant hatred of the press and his reaction to people who try to bring some semblance of reality really comes through. It really is something frustrating. And is angry, and he got asked honest questions, and then he got insulting. He called this pig. He called the woman piggy. It's a lot of times it's women, but not always. And he told the woman who asked him an honest question, they called her a bad person for doing so. And I keep wondering about why there isn't more of a revolt from our press. That there should be I know he's engineering it toward the press to love him, big change, but why no revolt? And what is it? Just a distraction mechanism that he has? I mean, Larry Trump was on Bill Maher saying that it didn't happen. So we've reached that level of that it didn't happen. The piggy bit didn't happen. We're just denying it already. So what's why? It's whether it's Ukraine, tariffs, Epstein, pretty much everything. Where's the revolt about? We need reality-based conversations. And you were the guy who pointed that out, I think, one of the most immediate of Trump, too. You did, you were the guy.
Well, it was good, clean fun. I think you actually have asked the fundamental question of our time in some ways. Because if we can't have an argument, a good, lusty, right, fierce argument that is nevertheless grounded in reality, we cannot govern ourselves, which may be the point. So there's two answers. One, Trump. I've thought a lot about this. How can he be this way? I mean, if you were to sit down and write a character for some Hollywood movie and you wrote Trump, the money guys would say that this is just totally unbelievable. No one will ever believe that a human being like this exists. And he does, and he's the most powerful political figure of the 21st century. Of my lifetime, he's the dominant political figure. That goes back a long way. And I've thought, well, how? And he started out with his father in the real estate business. And part of their business was that they were bullshitters, right? They bullshit their tenants. They built, I won't go on and curse, but they fabricated answers to the federal government when they said you're discriminating against Black people and not renting to them. They fabricated information Trump did to his investors. He fabricated them to the answers to the Atlantic City Council that gave him the Earth, Sun, and the Moon in order to have a casino that promptly went bankrupt, which is hard to do. And he developed this, and he's an incredibly, I'm going to say weak man. He's inside. He's a weak man. The one thing that I think I could sense sitting directly across from him for a while is that while he is mean, you can push him around. If you back him down, he backs down. Now, in an interpersonal way, I think he backs down tactically and is going to get you in the back or some other time. But I think he's developed the habit of mind that he can reinvent reality to protect his insecure, broken self and impose it with this ferocious personality on everyone else. That's who we're governed by. Now, why isn't the press revolting? Hope. They hope that we could go back to a time when that model of journalism that everybody plays within the lines, and it's not up to the press to call who's out of the lines and who's not, just describe the play. And that doesn't work with somebody who's trying to break the way we have governed ourselves. And I think that's, and also corporate, obviously. I mean, they're all owned by big corporations and they don't want to make Trump angry.
So I don't know if you saw the New York Post, which I don't recommend most people reading. I just find it to be just not worth my time most time. But they did have something surprising. They actually it looked like something written by Rupert Murdoch, honestly, about the Ukraine deal that initially was the 28-point plan, which turned out to be just a Russian written document. Even the translation was weird. It's oh, this is actually a direct written thing where it condemned him. And I don't think I'd ever seen the New York Post really go that hard on that. And it clearly is that there's a little fracturing, just a tiny bit. I'm not going to say it's going to lead to much things, but that's how bad it can be and how the Post can react that way to a Ukraine deal, which was horrific. There's apparently another deal today. I don't know what the works of that, but is that my hope, the idea that there's some sort of this reality, trying to mold reality doesn't go that far. You've gone too far with it.
It is a performance. And I think what we saw with the Epstein files and with the defection of Marjorie Taylor Greene is there's a slight scent of lame duck in the air. And
Yeah.
he knows it. Everybody is telling him. Thomas Massey said it out loud. It's why Trump hates him. We are going to have careers longer than Donald Trump is going to be alive. And all of a sudden, that's the Gestalt switch, right? It's like, wait a minute. I can look at the world a little differently. I still have to deal with the tiger in my living room, but that tiger's old. The pound is coming or whatever. Your animal control to take him out at some point, and I'm going to have to live in this house and thrive. And I do think, as polls are crap and heading south, and I do think that there's a sense of vulnerability. It's why they had to be full speed ahead from the moment he was inaugurated to overthrow the established way of doing things, both formally and legally and otherwise, to get as much power concentrated as they could before this moment set in. And this moment has set in.
Now you covered Department of Justice. Have you seen anything quite like this? That the vengeance, his obsession with small things, or what would be considered small things by any normal political reality world, he comes hard at them and fails utterly. He face planting. Like he's the Simpsons meme of stepping on the rake over and over again and seeing if it works. Like, honest to God, he has no face anymore if he stepped on the rake this often.
Well, with Department of Justice, I mean, look, it's a very serious subject because he's certainly trying to corrupt it. And I am old enough to remember when an attorney general of the United States went to prison because he did the bidding of a president, right? That was Kleindienst, who was trying to help Richard Nixon in his skullduggery. And the attorney general went to prison. And let's face it, it's not as if the Department of Justice that Nixon inherited was crystal clear and clean, because it had been used for a long time, actually, for the personal errand running, in some ways, of presidents. John F. Kennedy appointed his brother, Attorney General of the United States. His brother promptly started to try to kill Fidel Castro out of the Department of Justice, right? And so it's the guy after Nixon, the Attorney General. His name was Edward Levy, Harvard law professor. Everybody loved him. Everybody thought he was the most serious, sincere, decent legal mind out there. And he was like Merrick Garland times 10, without the challenges Merrick Garland failed to meet. Although he had the big challenge of restoring credibility to the Justice Department. He did. From that moment until really these clowns, the Department of Justice has operated in a certain way.
So I'm glad I brought up Merrick Garland. I have there are issues with. I'm sure the Biden administration had some issues with them. Ooh, nice Bears Cup. Yeah, it is.
The 8-3 Chicago Bears, ladies and gentlemen.
We got Friday. What are they going to have to do to restore confidence at this one? Because it's like we went on this. We were climbing up a good hill after Trump won. There's a horrible hill to have to go up, and then it's like we just barrel rolled down to a depth that we haven't found before. Are they going to have to? We like to in America to say, "Oh, let's move on." There's always this idea of moving on. Can they really? Can we move on in the Department of Justice? Can we move on even in the press? Like, there are people who have carried the water for this administration in the press too. Do we need to have that moment that every nation state worries about, where they have to start? It'll look like prosecution of people who've done wrong in this era.
Yeah, though, that's an interesting question for the next administration, assuming there is one, if we have a free and fair election. And I'm an optimist. I'm a glass half full guy. It's why I'm so happy out here in independent media. And I think the American people don't want a radical change in our democracy. It may be forced on them, but I don't think that will succeed. So then you're asking the next big question: what comes next? How do we repair this? And I think we are experiencing a kind of extinction event in our politics. We will not be able to go back. The ground will be scorched in so many ways, and species of decency and ways of doing things will be antiquated and wiped out. It is a post-Civil War, post-Depression and World War II moment. We'll have to find new ways, new approaches, new coalitions, and I think that's going to be an absolutely thrilling experience, because and the first moment of that is Zoran Mondani. And I have no idea if he's going to succeed or not succeed, but his attitude is, the past is the past. Let's try something new. And I think that's going to be the spirit post-Trump.
That is I'm not I mean, Mamdani's an impressive individual. I think that meeting he had, and I'd love to your thoughts on that meeting he had uh, with President Trump this week, where it was it was surreal. But our previous guests talked about it, kind of predictable because, as you said, if you get in his space, he becomes subservient really fast. And there's a whole psychology, his love of New York, as Chicagoans, the mayor of Chicago was like the biggest office that we could imagine for most of Growing. Like it always was. Governor, yeah, whatever. That's got down in Springfield problems. The mayor of Chicago, that's our guy. That's our thing.
True. The Dailies. I grew up with the old Daily, and I voted for the second Daily. So,
and we get that sort of thing. So he does back down on that bit, but that meeting where I think you're right. We saw something of what our future can handle. They don't agree on things, but they can agree that somebody's got to do something and do well. And I think honestly, it's the one time I ever thought that Trump hoped that someone of an opposition party was going to do okay. I think he honestly might think that New York needs to do better.
Yeah, that's a great point because Trump is not a Republican. He's not a Democrat. He's a nationalist populist, and populism crosses all kinds of boundaries. It has before in our history, and there's a lot of negative populism, but there's positive populism as well. And Mamdani inherits that. Bernie Sanders inherits that in some ways, which is let's break the institutions that are not serving us. In fact, that have been captured by people who have concentrated far too much of this nation's enormous wealth in their own hands. We're at that kind of a moment. And in the Oval Office, Trump doesn't sign on to that kind of populism, but game recognizes game.
Yeah.
Right. And he was like, this guy, I want a little bit of that sunshine on me. You can tell that there's something. And as I say, he could fall flat on his face in policies, and New York will have to handle that. The voters in New York will have to handle that. He could alienate voters because of certain beliefs he might have. Who knows? But it's something new. And I am reminded of that old line from Alice in Wonderland. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Just start going. And he's going. And I think that's thrilling. And he's young, and people are excited about that. And I am too.
So before I go, there's a couple of things. First, I don't know if you saw that Bari Weiss has started talking about things that she'd like to elevate at CBS as her thing. And people like
Dershowitz.
Yes, she referred to Alan Dershowitz as like where America is on things. I was deeply confused by that. Because I've never thought that is where America is on things for all of Alan Dershowitz's.
Yeah, and she mentioned somebody else who I'm for let 1,000 flowers bloom in public debate.
Sure.
I do think. Sorry, go ahead.
Weird. Like these are. Do you really like this? Is that what everyone's gonna like? All of these, like, and is NBC and ABC gonna be like them at some point? Is that where we're headed?
Well, if Orbanism, the Orbanism that we're getting, the way that the Hungarian ruler runs the media in his country, the way Putin took over the media in his country, you strip the asset from either companies that are failing at making money doing it, or that you can punish somehow, and you give it to your cronies. And clearly that's the model. So it could someday be that ABC, CBS, NBC, and CNN would all be owned by, somebody very friendly to Trump, but that doesn't solve their problems. It's kind of a dying business model. But Dershowitz, he's a very smart guy. I covered him in trials. I've known him for many, many years. I covered legal issues for a very long time. He's a very interesting guy. I don't know what the Epstein allegations are all about. He denies them ferociously, but I'm for sunshine and all of that. Let the chips fall where they may. But he's not the future.
No.
Right? He's not the future.
Like, no one's asking this guy. The guy who complains that no one's serving him in Nantucket is not the future of things.
Yeah, what a jerk. Yeah, exactly.
It's like that's so. I just wonder, like, CBS's moves, and 60 Minutes is a time-honored program. It's had its issues. But I occasionally started seeing now a little more fluff pieces. There are more than even usual on it, and that Orbanism is, I think, the biggest fear. You brought up when you came on a while back that this is the centralization of all media. This is state-controlled media. And that had then the Barry Weiss CES takeover comes in, and it seems we are getting closer to that.
Yes, but the difference is that Orban came to power, 15 years ago more. And this wasn't happening. So you may be able to concentrate power in old media, whose audience is shrinking by the month, dying off, frankly. I think the median age of the ABC News evening news, the last I heard, the David Muir show, is like 66, 67. Half the audience is older than 66. And I think 80 or 85% of it is over the age of 55. So there's no future there. That's why you get all the drugs with the horrible side effects in between your news. The ads are more terrifying than the news some days. So that's an advantage for the American democracy. The concentration of media power, which did exist because it was hard to get newspapers out, hard to get a broadcast network out, is over. Everybody, I'm doing this on my phone.
Yeah, it really is changed a whole series. The game is different. I'm glad for that. I like we can have conversations with interesting people from a distance too, and not have to travel all over for it or have to go spend an exorbitant amount of money on things like that. So it is really great. So before I let you go, I got one. I've been asking guests so far about this. Thanksgiving. What's your dish? Your favorite dish?
Oh, my mom's stuffing. Now, my mom has been with God for 25 years, but my sister has the recipe, and it's awesome, of course, because it's my mom's stuffing, and everybody disappears like within a minute or two, even though she makes a whole additional pan.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah, it's my mom's stuffing for sure.
Cliff, the previous guest, is also all about stuffing. He says it might kill him if he eats stuffing as often as he wants to. So I think stuffing is a unifying. I think that might be the great candidate in the world right now. Stuffing.
And let's unite around our mom's stuffing.
Well, thank you for joining us, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Chris. It was great. It was great to see you.
Pleasure.
Happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Happy Thanksgiving.
All righty.
And go Bears.
Go Bears. See ya.
See ya.
Where am I?
And next up, I'm inviting him right now, is Miles Taylor. Let's see if we can get his thing going. My slow typing is epic. Don't buy stovetop egg. Yeah, that's. We got Miles Taylor. He's on the road today because of the chaotic holiday, but he's got some time for us. So it'll be audio. It's too bad we won't be able to see his face. Well, we'll see it as a picture. You can find Miles' stuff on Substack as well. It's defiance.news. A link will be posted here when he's able to join. Many of you might remember the 2018 September New York Times op-ed. It was called "I Am Part of the Resistance Inside the Trump Administration." And it was by Anonymous. Well, it's been a while. He's not anonymous anymore, and he hasn't been for a while, but that was the big thing at the time, talking about how what was going on in Trump 1. I guess we want to call it Trump 1. It's a interesting misnomer on things because it's just continuous Trump. And this second round has been very different, a little more chaotic, faster, little less dependable. And we're trying to connect with Miles right now. He's doing it from his phone in the car. But while we're at it, just to reflect on a little bit of our previous guests, both of them. We'll start with Terry. Terry, who's a good friend of the show. His concept of media really is something that the centralization is something we should worry about. You should continue to support the journalism you can. It doesn't necessarily. Money's tough these days, so I think that as long as you continue to support, spread, allow people to tell their stories, be inquisitive. Go to places where you don't expect to think things. I think we can continue this sort of service. Still waiting for Miles on this, seeing if he's able to. Let me try this again. Substack is a charming technology. I am not the best at it, but I try to be. Re-inviting him now. But we need to support media. And I know it can be frustrating. I know they're not covering sometimes the stories you'd like them to. That's why we have Substack. You can find, if you want to find the information you're looking for, you can find it there, but also expose yourself to things you would not know previously. because that's how we stay informed as a democracy. That's how we stay informed as a people. It's really good for everyone involved. And I would also recommend don't be. I know it's something to be very frustrated and to be fearful and to lose hope. I would recommend to never lose hope. There is always hope in these things. If you're passionate, run for something. Running costs a lot of money. If that's not up your alley, it's not everyone's. Obviously, support someone. You don't have to do it financially. Just help them. If you have their beliefs, that would be great for you, and that will be great for them as well. Volunteer, stay vocal, talk about things, keep the conversation going, and don't despair, because things are going to be better. I get that things are bad, that things cost too much. The president is spending more time demolishing part of the White House than possibly caring about your goods, but it will be better. I think we got Miles. Here we go.
How are you, man?
Doing all right. Miles Ted has just joined us on his little odyssey. I think you headed to the Midwest, I think you said.
On my odyssey.
Yeah.
That was right.
Well, welcome. Just a quick question, because before we start, the regular host, one great Chris Matthews, when I saw him last night, wanted me to ask you this question immediately. So I'm doing that right now.
He
want to know how long did you stay anonymous and who knew first?
Oh, those are good questions. Well, next time we get together with Chris, and as I told you this, Chris, I have to play these old audio tapes of Chris Matthews coming to a small town in the Midwest and being interviewed by a young teenage Miles Taylor. So that predates the anonymous episode, but these are memorable audio tapes.
Well, I cannot wait to. So how long did you stay as it?
Dredge those.
Let me break it a little bit there.
Up at another time.
Okay.
But the it was.
You're coming in a little rough there.
We're gonna make this work. It should be fine again in
okay, there we go. Yeah,
about a minute or so. There we go. I was just saying the only people who knew at the time were the publisher of the New York Times, one person on the editorial board at the New York Times, and then later my book agent. And the secret held. I mean, it kept, and I didn't think it would. I mean, I fully expected when I placed that opinion piece, Chris, that within days it would leak, because everything leaks in Washington. And so I had my resignation letter prepared. I was prepared to come forward in that moment and back up all of my criticisms of the president with details and anecdotes, but it didn't happen. And that gave me optionality. And, the entire time I had planned to unmask myself before the 2020 election. I felt like that was very important to own those words, but it was a device. It was a device to draw public attention to what I thought was the most serious issue of the first Trump administration, which is that the president's own team didn't think he was competent for the job, and that they were alarmed by what they were seeing behind the scenes. And I felt like that wasn't something a bunch of unelected bureaucrats should keep secret from the American people, because we weren't the ones who were going to decide if he got a second presidential term. That was going to be up to the voters. So if it was that bad, they needed to know it was that bad. And the device of anonymity got attention to that fact. But I felt like eventually I needed to come forward in my own name. But when it didn't leak, Chris, my thought was, okay, well, what I can do is I can detail these concerns about the president's character in longer form and spell that out to the American people while I got their attention before coming forward. And so that's what I did. That's why I stayed in the shadows for that time period. But like I said, I felt like before that 2020 election, it was really important, not just for me, but these other Trump administration officials who harbored those same concerns, to come forward in their own names and talk about what they had seen. And it ended up being the largest group of ex-administration officials in American history to turn against a president that they had served under. And I was one piece of that.
So I think it's pretty clear. I think that it feels this way, though there was a lot of harm done in Trump 1, that Trump 2 seems faster, worse, and more chaotic already. I mean, we have like rounding up of undocumented people who've been in the country for decades in cruel fashion. Kristi Noem wants photo hops and new private jets as a priority. Where's the next anonymous? Like, is there going to be because it seems like what's happening publicly is pretty terrible. Private, like things that are still held in secret, might be much more terrifying. So where are they?
Well, first, I would say I hope that person doesn't use the device of anonymity. I think it's sort of a one-time thing that works. I would hope that we give them the support they need right away to come forward in their own name. And if there's one regret I have, it's that I didn't come forward even sooner. I think I waited too long. I think if I'd come forward sooner, it would have given me more time to recruit other people to come forward in their own names. Now, that's what I did in the summer before the 2020 election. But I realized it helped a lot to already be out there in my own name when you're going to convince other people, hey, come join. Because there is, as the old adage says, there's strength in numbers. And people need to know that they're going to be going out there with other people who've already done it. So that's important. And I hope in this administration, if there are folks that come forward to expose illegal conduct, that they do it alongside other people. They do it together, that they do it publicly, that they do it as early as possible. But that's exactly what this debate this week in Washington, D.C. is all about. Those 6 Democratic lawmakers who went out there and said, if you witnessed illegal activity, you have a right and a responsibility to refuse it. Those Democratic lawmakers are speaking to the next anonymous in a second Trump administration. They are speaking to the next whistleblower. And what the Trump administration has done in response is to do everything possible to intimidate that person, to intimidate that guy or gal from coming forward. And that's why I think this DOD investigation into Mark Kelly is so chilling. It's not just an insult to a sitting U.S. senator. It is a very deliberate message to every man and woman in uniform. Don't you dare come forward and expose an illegal order from the president. If you do, we will court-martial you. That's crazy for a lot of reasons, but not least of which is the fact that the Uniform Code of Military Justice says they have a responsibility to refuse illegal orders. They should be exposing misconduct, but now they will have to face the worry that they either do their job and uphold their duty and get court-martialed, or stay silent and face the prospect that down the road they will get court-martialed for having complied with an illegal order. I mean, this is a really terrible position to put men and women in uniform in this country and all government workers. And I think that that's what has changed dramatically in this second Trump administration, is that the administration is stacked with loyalists, and what civil servants there are willing to blow the whistle, well, they are now being intimidated in every way that a White House could try to intimidate the people underneath them.
I'm glad you brought up the Mark Kelly bit. The court-martialing seems like a step back from what Trump initially was advocating, which was execution. I mean, sweet tap dancing Christ. Like, seriously, going to say you want to execute senators is straight up Caligula level type things. And, I'm a former TSAer, part of DHS, part of DHS as well. And I know there are so many good people who are still dedicated to the mission and probably been quieted down because of this. That the idea that there could be severe harm to them. For me, at least, it feels like the way they all behave, the way DHS does now, the Trump administration as a whole with DOD, they behave as like the entire show is his fan base. It's all for fan base. It's all for the people. And that's a fierce bubble. So,
yeah,
what's the comeback look like? I always like to try to come up with an idea of like, what's the comeback look like?
Well,
like how do we do this better?
I say this a lot, but I mean, these guys treat it like a video game, and it's not a damn video game. I mean, you mentioned DHS. That's 250,000 men and women who went in to serve this country, a lot of them after 9/11 to prevent another 9/11. Good people who want to do good things, whose jobs are being politicized, but whose lives and livelihoods are being threatened by this administration, whether it's directing them to do things that violate their conscience or telling them that they will be punished for trying to say no to illegal things. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. You want the people you are paying to serve you in government to be willing to speak truth to power. You want that. You want that. You don't want your money pissed away inappropriately. You don't want it spent on illegal things. Like, this is really basic stuff. But now those people in those jobs are being intimidated. And one thing I'll say about that, Chris, before jumping to what the antidote is that one of the things that escaped notice in the past week was this really breathtaking story from Reuters that the White House is considering a federal rule, a regulation that would strip civil servants, senior civil servants, of the protections they have for blowing the whistle. Under the law, they are allowed to come forward and blow the whistle if they witness, misappropriation of funds, egregious spending, or illegal orders. They're protected in doing that under the law. This rule would rescind those protections, and it would allow basically the administration to threaten, to fire, and potentially even to prosecute people for coming forward and exposing illegal conduct. That you can't send a clearer message to the civil service than that, which is, yes, we will ruin your lives if you tell the world that we have broken the law. That is chilling. It's terrifying. We need to remind people about that every week. But Chris, the antidote to that is, if this administration is going to crowdsource intimidation and also direct it from the top down, then we've got to go out there, and as trite as it sounds, we've got to crowdsource courage. We have to show folks that if they are willing to stand up, if they are willing to do the right thing, that we will have their backs, and that it won't just be a handful of people sending them positive messages. It will be millions of people who come to their defense, who support their legal fund, who help them get security if they're threatened. That's the type of thing that we have to do. And so it's why we launched this thing a few weeks ago called defiance.org. And the whole purpose of it is, we call it a club for courageous Americans. It's to bring millions of Americans together to go be there to respond quickly to the president's revenge campaign, whether that's against an individual whistleblower or whether it's against an entire university or segment of society. This is a group willing to take collective action every single week to go support a different organization or individual that's in the crosshairs. And that's what we've got to get good at, again, is collective action. Every single democracy that's ever suffered from backsliding at the hands of a power-abusing leader has needed to learn that muscle, has needed to learn how to bring people together in mass to go affect change. And, we are relearning that. And fortunately, we have a lot of examples throughout history to draw from.
So let's say, I feel very good about, I'm an optimist on things. I feel very good about electoral chances on straight now. I mean, we're only a year and it feels like it's been 42 years since Trump came back.
Yeah.
So let's say, hypothetically, one of the apparently many Democratic challengers who want to go up against, I will say, Trumpism, the J.D. Vance, whatever that is exactly, that a Democrat pulls this off. Would you consider serving in an administration then, again?
I mean, look, the honest answer is I am running from public office instead of toward public office of any kind at the moment. I think from the outside, I would support any reform administration that comes in. I mean, Democrat or Republican or independent. I mean, like a lot of people, my sort of like West Wing nostalgic political fantasy is an era where we have some kind of unifier president come forward. I had hoped that Joe Biden was going to do something along those lines. He didn't. I'm not saying that he governed as a hyper-partisan, but there was an opportunity to form a truly coalition government type administration after the debauchery of 2016 to 2020. And Biden blew that opportunity. He missed a real opportunity to bring in a cabinet that was, half conservatives, half liberals, and say, this is how we move forward. And I think that still is the ideal way to overcome the scale and scope of power abuses we've seen, because otherwise anything less than that is going to seem like tit for tat. And there's already folks I know, well-meaning folks on the left, who are saying, as soon as Trump's gone, we're coming back in and we're getting revenge against these guys. And I'm not saying there shouldn't be accountability for lawbreakers. There should be. But you don't put revenge first and then find out what the crimes are later. That's exactly what this president is doing, is saying, I just have to go get my enemies. We'll figure out what they've done in order to get them. And so to avoid that, we need a unifier type administration. We need a president that brings, folks in from both sides. And I think that there are Democrats who want to govern that way. They may not campaign that way because that may not be the way to go win the presidency in this moment. They may have to do some pretty rough and tumble politics out there on the campaign trail. But I do think that there are folks out there who would govern as unifier presidents. And I hope to see someone like that come into office. As for me, I'll probably be on the outside cheering them on, then deciding to go back into government.
Okay, and one last question before I let you go on your odyssey. I hope you stay safe and all that. And I've been asking every guest, so what's your Thanksgiving dish? What's your favorite one?
Gosh, that's a great one. There's a joke in here somewhere about how revenge is the dish best served cold. I can't find it in time because I've got dad brain. But favorite is my wife makes a honey, what's the thing you make? Sweet potato pie. She makes a sweet potato pie that's out of this world. It's absolutely mind blowing. And then she makes sourdough bread, which I know is in vogue, and everyone's making sourdough bread, but no one makes sourdough bread like Hannah. So those two things, next time I'm on video, I'll be twice the size that I am right now.
Well, that's how we should be having Thanksgiving. Though everything's costing a little more on Thanksgiving, but I think like being a happy Thanksgiving is really the real goal.
That's right. Chris, if I can, one plug I would make to folks is, look, I like everyone gets sick of the doom scrolling right now. I mean, it's all we do, and I'm guilty of it too, is, going out there and putting out stories about how dark it's getting. But there are ways that people can take the power back. There are ways that people can fight back against abuses of power, again, whether they're Democrats or Republicans or independents. So if folks are free tomorrow night, Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, every single week, we do Defiance.org weekly spotlights where we bring a great organization in that's doing really good work to uphold the rule of law and democracy. And this week, we're going to be talking about Senator Mark Kelly. We're going to be talking about how to help Congress find its backbone. And so if folks want to join us, anyone and everyone is welcome to join us. So we'd love to have folks there. And by the way, we make big surprises and big announcements during those. It is fun. It's exciting. We give money to groups. They don't know it's coming. We'll surprise them with tens of thousands of dollars. Like, be there for that just so you can see their faces. So we would love to have folks join us for that.
In a follow-up post in here, I will be posting that too, for telling people to go to that tomorrow.
Awesome. Thanks, my friend. Thank you for joining. I hope everyone has a safe and happy Thanksgiving. And Chris, we'll have to get together.
Yeah. Hi, Alexa. Say hi to Alexa. She'll probably be here.
Alexa, oh man, well, we got to get the three of us together.
Yeah.
It'll be a great group.
Okay, thanks for coming on.
All right, thanks, friends.
So, that's our show. I am so glad you watched this and joined us. I'd love for you to become regular if you're not. If you are regular, well, that's just fantastic. I love you anyway. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family. And if you can't be with your family, be with the ones you can consider to be family. A few things before I sign off here. Chris Matthews' book is still for sale. He's going all around and talking about. So if you're able to participate in an event that's been there, you should do that. They're really fun events. My wife and I went to one last night where Chris discussed everything you can think of. And you should get a copy of the book wherever you get your books. It's called Lessons from Bobby, the 10 Reasons Why Robert F. Kennedy Still Matters. We just passed his 100th birthday last week, which should have been his 100th birthday. He should have been able to celebrate it. He was not allowed to. His brother's assassination's anniversary was just a couple days ago. We can't and shouldn't forget them. Our heroes should stay with us in political life as well as daily life, and that book really tells a good story for it. And as I said earlier, stay hopeful. It's going to get better. We just need to fight for it. Everything's worth fighting for. Run for something, support someone running for something, support issues, go volunteer, make this world better because it's up to us on this. I will leave you this few notes. Second star to the left, not right here, but to the left, and straight on till morning. Go Bears this Friday. Chris Matthews will be back next week. Have a happy, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy yourselves, be good to each other, and we'll see you next week.